And next up, we have Mr. Christopher Dyer, the Office of Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgendered Affairs. All three of the prior public witnesses stated that you have really assisted them with some of their goals and missions of their organization, so that's good to know.
And it's good that they came and testified. It's nice to know that the community likes us. So I'm glad that they took the time to testify.
Still a lot of challenges that we have. And I wanted to follow up with regards to the bullying in the DC public schools. Do you provide any input with DCPS and the Metropolitan Police Department in terms of a bullying program? And have you seen a large number of GLBTQ students that are being harassed? Is that a problem we need to look at?
It depends on what you look at. We are very fortunate in the District of Columbia to have the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, which is a biannual survey of DC public school students. And the YRBS survey showed that there is a higher percentage of GLBT youth who report being bullied or harassed as opposed to their straight counterparts. But as a percentage of population in the schools, GLBT students self-identified about 11% of the DC public school students who responded to the survey indicated that they were either gay, lesbian, or bisexual.
You presented a survey to students in the schools?
No, we didn't actually. It's done through the DC public school system, and it's a CDC-based. CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, requires states every other year to conduct this thing called a Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance Survey, and the District of Columbia is one of maybe 8 or 9 states that actually includes questions about sexual orientation. So from that survey, we were able to get some very preliminary data about what is going on in the DC public school system. But the program that we actually worked on is a recommendation to DC public schools. We also collaborated with the Office of the State Superintendent of Education and the Department of Mental Health to sort of enhance what had already been in the schools. So we recommended, along with this team, that there be a point of contact in each school that receives a specific amount of training that's directed specifically towards bullying and harassment. We also introduced a poster campaign in the schools and select schools that clearly identify the point of contact in the staff and the staff person in the school to report being bullied or harassed. And we've also created an online form for the points of contact to fill out so that we can actually collect real-time data on the actual incidences that are happening in the schools. Until this point, DCPS did not have that kind of mechanism that we were aware of. I mean, they collected the reports at the school system, but there was no centralized collection of the data and analysis. So right now, we think that there is a statistically significant challenge for GLBT students facing bullying and harassment, but we don't know until we actually see some more rounds of the surveys because this data is relatively new and we haven't seen stuff going forward. Like, for example, in 2009.
And you mentioned about a pilot program, too?
Yes, this is the pilot program that we're currently working on. It's in 12 schools right now, and we actually had our first round of reporting in February. And we hope to, in fact, tomorrow I'll be going and doing another training, and we hope to have it up and running in every junior and senior high school that the DC public school system
Do you know right offhand what schools this is located in now? Or can you
I can do it from muscle memory. I could, but from muscle memory, I know that Elliott Hine has one. Shaw at Garnett Patterson, Woodson is involved. Wilson High School, Phelps is involved in it, and I'm missing the others, but I certainly can provide that list to you.
What's the funding for your office?
Our budget in FY08 is $182,000.
And how are you able to?
I'm sorry, it's $199,171.65.
What have you been able to accomplish?
Well, one of the things is that with that budget, we have me and Clarence, the 2 full-time staff, but we also have been able to establish relationships, as Dr. Braley pointed out. We have what we call agency points of contact, which actually was a suggestion as part of the legislation establishing the office. So I have counterparts in every government agency across the city. that in theory are supposed to specifically work on GLBT action plans for each agency. So even though there are only 2 of us, we actually have access to an army of other resources, well, not an army, but we have access to other employees across the city government who collaborate with us.
So for these programs you develop these programs out of your office?
No, we actually we have gotten a series of recommendations of programmatic changes, and we work directly with the agencies that are responsible.
So the Economic Summit, you work with the Deputy Mayor of Economic Development for that?
Yes. In fact, his office picked up the cost of most of the first one. So we are able to access other resources even though we don't have them in our budget.
What about the Leadership Institute?
Well, the Leadership Institute, because we conduct them in D.C. government-owned property, our overhead is $0.00 for each program.
And what is the leadership? Could you tell me a little bit about the Leadership Institute?
It's a series of capacity-building trainings for community-based organizations. We did an annual fundraising training. We partnered with the Office of Partnerships and Grant Services to conduct this, to have nonprofits get best practices in in fundraising and grant management and grant identification. We expanded this series so that it happens 4 times a year now. Our first session in FY09 was on improving your boards and then recruiting new board members. Our next one in May is on is your event really special? Giving them best practices on how to improve their special events, because we find in the GLBT community that there's always room for more improvement among volunteer and established organizations to increase their capacity.
And the community leaders meetings, you hold meetings for all the community leaders?
Yes.
And the GLP, how often is that?
That is 4 times a year. And there are we've identified at least 78 different community groups that specifically work within the GLBT community. And in our universe of invitees, there's about 120. We also, in each of these meetings, we invite at least 1 or 2 other agencies to come and participate and do a presentation. So, for example, at a recent meeting, Dr. Clarence Carter from the Department of Human Services came in and gave an update on the Housing First initiative and some of the housing and homelessness issues that DHS is working on.
And I know that there were some challenges within the Metropolitan Police Department in terms of some of the attacks that the community felt were really targeting them. Have improvements been made in that area with regards to crime? What are some of the issues? And if you are aware, I know you're a commissioner, on the Commission on Human Rights, but are there some outstanding issues within the community that you would like some more emphasis put on?
Now, to my extent, right now, the response towards violence in the GLBT community is very good. The Gay and Lesbian Liaison Unit and the MPD have been very good at responding to the increases in crime and violence in the community, and I can't think of anything else other than the initiatives that they're currently working on.
So there are no outlying issues. What about efforts with HIV and AIDS within the community?
Again, we have a very good relationship. In fact, Dr. Hayter is going to be coming and briefing our advisory committee tomorrow on HIV and AIDS. We are an active participant in an HIV working group. And because there are so many organizations in the city like Whitman Walker Clinic, SMILE, and THE who do direct prevention, we don't do as much, but we certainly help out in any way we can in increasing their capacity.
And what effort does your office do in terms of outreach to let people know that you are the resource, you know how to refer persons out to different agencies throughout the community? In
FY08, we attended over 200 community meetings.
You say we, so that's...
Me and Clarence, yeah. I attend on average 3 to 4 meetings a week. We also have a listserv and an electronic publication called News and Notes, which is distributed to 2,300 recipients and subscribers, and we're always looking for more people to sign up for that publication. We also have an active website that gets visits from several people, several hundred people a month. I think on average, we averaged it out, and between all of our outreach activities, we contacted approximately 14,000 residents last year, either directly or indirectly through our outreach efforts. The mayor sets a pretty good example for being out in the community, and we follow that. So,
Thank you so much.